Hey folks, welcome back to My Kitten Reads. I'm Eleanor and this is my April wrap up. So I did not end up filming at all during Deweys like I usually do. And because there was only one thing that I finished in April that wasn't during Deweys, I figured I'd just do a wrap up and that'd be fine. Instead of doubling up too much. Plus I was just too tired that weekend to bother filming. I was very relaxed with Deweys this year. I did finish 4 things from my currently reading pile and made progress on one more. But yeah, I was just tired and couldn't be bothered. So anyway, you get the wrap up instead. I always do a wrap up, but you know what I mean. So April, I only finished 5 things. So, not great. It's put me a bit behind on my reading goals for the year, particularly because only one of them matched any of my diversity goals. But I'm hoping that that's going to pick up a bit more. I'm trying right now. It's been I haven't read a lot this week, but I have been reading a little bit. So I'm trying to make myself read most days, even if it's just a chapter. So fingers crossed. So the first thing I finished was way back at the start of April. I finished rereading Check Please Book 2, Sticks and Scones by Ngozi Ukazu. I've probably pronounced that wrong, I'm so sorry. But second volume of Check Please, you know how much I love it. My gorgeous gay baking little hockey players. I'm totally into hockey now, so let's be fair, I'd started watching games before I started rereading these, but these and Mighty Ducks are probably a big reason of why I'm currently kicking up the hockey a bit. But yes, loved it, loved rereading it, always love rereading it, always say check it out because it's really great. So the second thing I finished was The Tempest by William Shakespeare, the play. This I had started reading for uni and forgotten to finish, so I finished that first as part of Deweys. Not my favourite of Shakespeare's plays. I find Shakespeare's plays difficult to read. They're far better when they're on stage. But yeah, even then, The Tempest was not my favourite. Didn't really get the point of it. There was a romance and there was a whole this is revenge for getting rid of me thing, but I'm not going to actually do anything to you. I'm just I'm going to forgive you in the end anyway, which is weird. Yeah, it was a whole thing. It wasn't for me. So there was that. Then I finished my audiobook that I've been working on for a little while, which is Agatha Christie by Lucy Worsley. So it's a biography of Agatha Christie. It was a really good audiobook. It's actually it's read by Lucy herself. I've seen a lot of Lucy Worsley's television stuff. She's a historian in the UK. I think she's an official historian of the royal palaces or something like that. But she's done a whole bunch of TV work on British history. She does a podcast that I listened to when it first came out. She did a series of it, which was about murder in the Victorian era, particularly women murderers in the Victorian era. And I think I've read one of her other biographies recently as well. I can't remember which one. That's right, there was one she did about Queen Victoria, which was going and focusing in really hard on particular days in Victoria's life, across her life. So I really like Lucy Worsley's work, and she's really good at reading as an audiobook reader. And so it was actually this is an audiobook that I actually rated 4.5 stars. It was good, really easy to listen to, really interesting in the way that she talks and writes about Agatha and challenges various myths about Agatha Christie, and always points out that there's a different way of looking at it, that people always seem to look at it at her life in the most negative light, and pointing out that might not be accurate, particularly around the whole went missing for 10 days thing. She really goes into that in detail. and is really kind of on the theory that she believes Agatha when she says she doesn't remember it, and outlines why it was probably a mental health crisis, not as the media at the time blew it up as a wronged woman seeking attention. So yeah, that was really interesting. So I read that. Then I finally managed to finish Lost in the Moment and Found by Shauna Maguire. This is the latest in her Eleanor West's Home for Wayward Children series of novellas, which you know how much I love. It's taken me a while to get to because there's a reason why Shauna, at the start of this book, puts in a warning, like an author's note. She's put in an author's note, and let me read it to you. Because I'm glad she did, because it's needed. So she says, while all the Wayward Children books have dealt with heavy themes and childhood traumas, this one addresses an all too familiar monster, the one that lives in your own home. Themes of grooming and adult gaslighting are present in the early text. As a survivor of something else very similar, I would not want to be surprised by these elements where I didn't expect them. I just want to offer you this reassurance. Antsy runs. Before anything can actually happen, Antsy runs. And she's right, because when I read the first section, I had to put it down and leave it for a while. And the first section didn't actually cover all of it. There was a bit more that I hadn't got to yet. But yeah, it's very uncomfortable. I wouldn't read it if that kind of thing, like grooming and gaslighting, was a thing that triggers you. I would avoid this one because it's beautifully written, but it's scary and it's uncomfortable and it hurts. But she also, Shauna's right, the character runs. She runs before it can get to the point that something actually happens. So she recognizes that she's in danger and she runs. But the rest of the story was good. It was very much about, it was sort of about informed consent, but not in a sexual way. So it was sort of, she gets into this situation with the portals and she's missing a key piece of information about the cost of what she's doing because people have kept that from her. And so it's very much about her standing up for herself and saying, no, I needed to know this at the start. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter how young I was. I needed this piece of information. So, and then standing up for herself has consequences as well. But those consequences, she's been fully informed. Like, oh, has she? But you know, she made that choice herself. So yeah, it's interesting. I really liked it once I got past the start. I don't know how many times I will actually reread this one because the start is difficult, but it's still a very well written novella. Antsy is a great character. And it's a bit different to the previous ones. In the way, and you learn a bit more about the way the portals work. But yeah, I liked it. I did like it. I just think you need to heed the warning at the front. And then the final thing I finished off was Third Girl by Agatha Christie, which was one of the books I had been recently reading at the gym, except for the fact that I haven't been to the gym in a few weeks. And it's Poirot that I know I've read before, but I hadn't really remembered it very well. And I believe it's the last one she wrote that features Ariadne Oliver. But I love the character of Ariadne Oliver. She's great. This is the slightly batty crime writer that is friends with Poirot and keeps getting mixed up in some of his mysteries. She's played in the ITV show, she's played by Zoe Wanamaker and she's amazing. But yeah, so I love her so much. I kind of want to go and rewatch some of the Ariadne Oliver ITV ones now because she's so cool. But yeah, I finished reading that, and that was essentially a girl comes and visits Poirot and says she thinks she might have killed someone, but she decides that Poirot looks too old, and so she leaves without telling him anything. And this upsets Poirot because his vanity has been pricked. But he's also curious and he wants to try and track her down. And then Mrs. Oliver gets involved. As it turns out, she's the one that told this girl about Poirot, and there's this mystery, and they can't find any deaths, and everything is not what it seems. But yes, so that was decent. Not my favourite Poirot, not my favourite Agatha Christie, but still a decent read. So that was the 5 things that I read in April. I started a lot of things in April, didn't finish many things in April. But yeah, that's where I'm up to at the moment. Fingers crossed May will be better and I can get back on track with my reading. It would be nice. Yeah. But as always, please like and subscribe. I would love it if you wanted to start a conversation in the comments about any of these books, about reading slumps, about whatever, just books. I love books. And I will see you all again really soon. Bye.